Have you considered a career in construction management? A good starting point is working as the site coordinator. The coordinator is involved in so many different aspects of the work that they quickly learn a lot regarding just about everything that is happening on their construction site. Their tasks and duties include keeping all of the paperwork organized, creating purchasing orders for supplies and materials, provide work orders to the trades, interact and coordinate with the laborers and the handymen, order construction drawings for the trades, coordinating delivery dates for the appliances, shower glass, closet shelving, and communications equipment. The coordinator also walks the construction site, going through each unit, posting information for the workers, and checking that the correct product, colors, and materials have been installed. Being organized and reliable, having good communication skills, and a willingness to keep learning are requirements for this interesting job that can lead to a career as a project manager or superintendent. And now, here is another career in construction that is always in demand: the safety specialist. They use their training to set up and maintain a safe work environment for all workers on the construction site. Before any worker begins working on a site, the safety specialist prepares a safety plan and a safety board, which includes all the required documents, some being the map to the nearest hospital, emergency phone numbers, etc. In order to meet the legal safety requirements, they must read and understand what's commonly called the Green Book, the Ontario Occupational Health and Safety Act, and regulations. Next is the plan for the site setup. This includes the layout of the temporary fencing, the necessary signage, the procedures for closing a sidewalk or lane of traffic, truck turning safety protocols, and fully stocked first aid kits, among other tasks such as worker orientation and documenting the procedures for operating the hoist. Once the work has begun, they begin their enforcement duties, which includes regular visual inspections of the construction site. When an unsafe act or condition is discovered, they begin by communicating the expectations to the workers, and also educate them on the right and wrong ways to go about their work. In the event that a worker is observed again working in an unsafe way, tickets for noncompliance are issued and disciplinary actions can be taken. It's not only about safe work methods. The responsibilities of the safety specialist doesn't stop there. It also includes setting up the policies for the prevention of violence, racial discrimination, and harassment. Construction sites without a competent and enforced safety policy can be a dangerous place. The safety specialist applies their knowledge and wisdom to saving lives every day.
My name is Samara Sampson. I have been a sheet metal worker out of Smart Local 285 for 5 years and have just recently passed my certificate of qualification, earning my red seal in sheet metal. My grandfather calls it a license to print money. I stay active within my union. I'm a part of the Ontario Building and Construction Tradeswomen Committee and an active advocate for women in the trades. I was called into the trades in high school. My automotive shop class teacher told me my welding skills were getting really good and I should consider a career in the skilled trades. I had already begun to develop an interest in the skilled trades. That's what brought me to shop class to begin with. But having that one person say that they could see it though, they could see me making a career for myself in the trades, it really pushed me forwards. I enrolled in post-secondary education, thinking that was the route to a career in the trades. I gained valuable skills and met some really great people along the way, but I wish I knew all of my options before making my choice. After taking a welding program, I was left with a student loan. I had no job. I moved to the GTA, and as I looked for work, I was introduced to a member of Local 285 who knew my family. He was excited to hear I had welding experience and told me if I wanted to become a sheet metal worker that I should apply for the current intake at Local 285. Welding could really help boost my application for this competitive intake. So I went, I applied, I wrote an aptitude test. I was called in for an interview with my union business reps. My favorite interview question was, where do you see yourself in 5 years? The apprenticeship was a 5-year apprenticeship. So I told them, I see myself finishing this apprenticeship. And I did. 90% of my apprenticeship was on the job training, and 100% of my apprenticeship was paid. In 5 years, I did 3 blocks of full-time day school at my union training center. They were 2 months each. The education was paid for. I was paid employment insurance for in-class apprenticeship training, as well as receiving government grants that were awarded to an apprentice that passes level 1, level 2, and their certificate of qualification. Apprenticeship training through my union was a complete 180 in comparison to college. The best part is, once you're an apprentice, you are a dues paying union member. You get benefits, you start contributing to your pension right away. The only thing I regret is not starting sooner. The only thing I could talk about more than the benefits of apprenticeships is sheet metal, my trade itself. Day to day, my job consists of installing furnaces and ductwork in newly constructed homes, but that is just a very small percentage of what sheet metal can cover. In sheet metal, you can work in an office designing or drawing blueprints. You can work in a shop laying out fittings, fitting metal together, running heavy machinery, or even welding. You could work in specialty sheet metal doing roofing, eaves trough, soldering, even art. You can work on sites installing sheet metal ductwork like I do, or become an inspector. There are many options within sheet metal. You couldn't possibly be bored. Finally, I'd just like to finish with some words of advice to those pursuing or interested in pursuing a career in the trades. Be safe, ask too many questions, say yes to as many opportunities as you can, and never forget why you started. I'd just like to say thanks for your time today, and good luck to everyone here currently pursuing a career in the skilled trades. Thanks a lot.
So happy International Women's Day, everyone. It is March 8th, and every year and around the world, we celebrate the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. But today also represents a call to action to move towards greater gender equality. This year's theme is Breaking the Bias, and I can't think of a better way to celebrate that than the amazing contributions women make in the construction industry that quite literally build the homes, schools, stores, businesses, and our entire communities that we live in. I'm very excited to share with you that we have more than 1,100 students who are joining us from 50 classrooms across 34 schools in Toronto. That's absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for joining us today for this special Speak Out. I'm Raly Chakarova. I'm the Executive Director of the Bolt Foundation and your host for this hour. We will learn today about the construction industry and hear directly from our industry panel about their own careers, how they got started, and what advice they have to share with those aspiring to join the industry. A few housekeeping notes first. The session is being recorded. It will be available as soon as possible on our YouTube channel publicly, and we'll share the link with everyone who's registered for the event as well. Please feel free to ask questions at any time using the Q&A at the bottom of the Zoom. And if you want to enable the live transcription, there's a bottom on the right-hand side for that as well. Lastly, I want to say that all the women you saw in our opening video and all the women you're going to hear from later today, there are no actors. These are real women in the industry only. And what you hope to learn today, a little bit about us. We have a very simple mission. It is to inspire a new generation of industry professionals by providing access to education, training, and employment in construction. So we know that there is a lot of awareness that still needs to happen out there. So Speak Outs are our way of doing that. We also provide programming for immersive career exploration through our Day of Discovery and job shadowing programs. And of course, we offer financial support to those interested in pursuing a career in construction, whether it be college or university, through our Bolt Financial Awards or skill training for the skilled trades. And I'm very happy to share that Tridel, who is Canada's largest condo developer, is also Bolt's principal and founding sponsor. And we are really hoping to leave you with 3 takeaways today. The first is an overview of the construction industry and the 5 reasons you should consider a career within it. We're going to talk about the diversity of careers that are available and how to get started through training and education. And lastly, we're going to end with resources, programs, and what some next steps you can take if you're interested in learning more. So very broadly, I love the word cloud and everything that was put in there, and you were spot on. In summary, construction is everything. It is our entire built environment. And we generally split it into 3 different sectors. We have residential, which is where we live, whether it be a condo or apartment building or a detached or a townhouse home. We have industrial, commercial, or institutional. So that is the school that many of you are joining us from today, but also office towers, manufacturing plants, hospitals, and anything like that. And then we also have public infrastructure, and that's the roads we drive on, the subway that we take, the bridges that we cross, everything like that falls under public infrastructure. And when we dive into, why construction? A lot of people ask us this. A lot of people, I'm sure, ask our amazing industry panel why they chose construction, and they will tell us a little bit about that. But we like to answer with really 5 main reasons. And that's diversity in career options. It's above average compensation. There's clear career advancement. They're very much in demand now and in the future. And generally, there's a feeling of fulfillment and pride that's above average than other industries. So diving a little bit more into this, what do we mean when we say diverse career options? I think when people think about construction, one of the first things that pops up is the skilled trades, which is absolutely correct. That is everyone who does the physical building of the building, regardless of what that might be. So that might be your electricians, your plumbers, sheet metal and HVAC workers like Samara, who was in our opening video, and anybody else in between, people that install the windows, people that install the railings, the floors, carpenters, the list goes on and on. But there's also a huge other diversity of careers that make these buildings happen. And 4 other categories is the engineering, science, and design, such as architects who actually draw out and design the buildings, the civil engineers, the environmental assessors who test the soil and the noise reduction, as you'll hear from one of our panel members. Then you have the health and safety, which was in our opening video as well with Cheryl. Those are individuals who ensure the highest safety standards on site and make sure that everybody is kept safe and there are safe working conditions. Administration and management, that'd be anywhere from the office management, HR, human resources, IT, the people that set up the computers and everything else, all the way to the people like project managers or site management. And of course, there's training and education. So those are instructors and professors that either work at colleges or training centers that teach everybody else, the new generation, about these trades. The second one is above average compensation. And here at the bottom, you'll see some examples from the starting salary for both the skilled trades and college or university-based professions, and all the way up to their earning potential. But on average, to get started in the industry, for those of you that might be thinking about what's next or thinking about what kind of career you'd like to have, the average starting wage is $24 an hour, and it goes up to $60 an hour, which is certainly above the minimum wage, which right now stands at 15, and certainly above the living wage in Toronto, which is at around $22 an hour. So they're very well compensated. And in some cases, you also have things like benefits, vacation, and pensions that are included in that as well. And the third one is clear career advancement. Now, this is something that many people don't know about, and that Samara in our opening video started talking a little bit about when it comes to apprenticeships. Apprenticeships in the skilled trades are structured by year, and through that, by the amount of hours you gain in that year. So every time you complete that 1 year, you become that much more advanced. So you will be a first-year apprentice, then a second-year apprentice, then a third-year apprentice. And Many apprenticeships are between 3 and 5 years. And after that, you write what is called your certificate of qualification and become a certified journey person. So this is really fantastic because you don't have to, talk to your boss about a promotion or about a raise. It's a lot more structured in that way. And one of the other really cool things in the industry is that if you are an entrepreneur and you're interested in having your own business, that is certainly something you can do once you gained enough experience. Start your own business, hire your own crew, and take on your own contracts. The fourth is that it is very much in demand. As you'll see from a later slide, the 115,000 new workers that need to be trained, hired, and retained in Ontario represents more than 1/5 of the current labor force. So there's a lot of demand for people to join the industry that will be, securely employed well into the future. And what's driving some of that demand is really 3 main reasons. We're seeing a lot of investment from governments at all levels into building new subway lines here in Toronto, new housing, new parks, and so on, and the nuclear sort of energy investments and refurbishment. So there's already a lot of demand from existing projects. Another thing that's driving that is climate change, and some of the mitigation and adaptation initiatives rely very heavily on construction. Looking at Toronto here, if you're down in the area such as Leslieville, down by the water, there's a huge flood protection project, not to mention the refurbishment of some older apartment buildings to make them more energy efficient. And of course, our region is only going to continue to grow. We attract, as an immigrant myself, I can attest that this is sort of the top destination for new immigrants to settle once they come to Canada. And that just means that the Toronto region will continue to grow. And as we attract more people, that means we're going to require even more housing, more transit, more social services, and anything else to accommodate that population. So in summary, not why construction, but construction because, you have diverse career options to choose from. You can access higher than average pay and earning potential. You have clear and diverse career advancement, and there's job security and transferable skills. But there's also that feeling of fulfillment, accomplishment, and pride to be able to, drive or walk by a building, look at that point and say, I helped build that, is something that's really, really fantastic. And let's talk about more specifically women in constructions, as it is International Women's Day. So as you see, our current construction labor force in all of Ontario is just over 500,000 people. And women represent only 12% of that, even though we make up slightly less than half of the population. And where we see a huge divergence is when we look at who works on site. So that is the skilled trades, where women only represent 4% of those on site. And about 1/4 of the workforce currently works off-site. And we see a bit of a bump there with women making up 40%. The good news in all of this is that even though the percentages are so low, about half of those professions on site are women bosses. About 20% are construction managers, about another 9 are home building and renovation managers, and another 9 are contractors and supervisors. And then the other 2 top trades are those general laborers and the painters and decorators. So certainly lots of room for women to grow in the industry. And who better to tell us about all of that than our amazing industry panel right now. So I'll allow them to introduce themselves and to talk about, how they got started and what motivated them to get started in the industry. But I'll just quickly overview. We have Caroline Kim, who's an architect and urban designer. We have Kayla Bailey, who is a journey person, Steamfitter, and project manager with the industry association at the moment. We have Sheeba Paul, who is a senior acoustical engineer. And we have Judy Tebbutt, who is a finishing superintendent. So to tell us each a little bit about themselves, I'll start over with Kayla. Over to you.
Hi, good morning. I'm so happy to be here today. Thank you so much, Raly, for having me. Yeah, as you've seen, I'm a journeyman steamfitter, gas fitter, and welder. I work with UA Local 46 Toronto, which is a union for plumbers, steamfitters, and welders. I've been in the trade since 2014, and I've been licensed since 2019. I got licensed when I was 24 years old, which you know, was great. It meant by the age of 24, I was making over $100,000 a year with pension and benefits. And I got into the trades right out of high school, although I didn't mean to. Actually, my mom's a tradeswoman, so it was always I always knew that it was an option. But I actually spent most of my high school career getting ready to go to university. And it wasn't until I started looking into the cost of university and, you know, really looking around at my family situation, I realized, you know, I wasn't going to be able to afford it. So started looking at the trades a little bit more, and I'm so happy I did, because I ended up with a trade that, you know, I find very fulfilling. And, you know, so many of my brothers and sisters within my union feel like real family now. So I'm a big supporter of the skilled trades. And, you know, I went to art school. I actually went to a art school downtown for high school called Inglenook. So, you know, even if you don't really see yourself fitting into the construction industry, I can tell you there's lots of opportunities to be creative, and there's lots of opportunities for growth. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Kayla. Sheeba, we'll move over to you.
Great. Thank you, Raly. My name is Sheeba Paul. I'm a senior engineer with HGC Engineering. We are a private consulting firm that specializes in noise, vibration, and acoustics. And it's a very exciting field. I am in the land use group, and I manage 6 junior engineers. We have a variety of projects that we work on, many of those similar to what Raly was showing in our slideshow. A lot of new residential developments. They could be condos, big subdivisions for, you know, single family homes or townhomes. We do retirement homes. We do commercial developments, industrial facilities, road widenings, you know, vibration due to subways, streetcar, railways. So a lot of different type of infrastructure type of projects and new residential developments. And, you know, I have a degree from the University of Guelph in environmental engineering, and I went ahead and I also did a master's degree. After that, I found myself looking for a job, and I was matched up with HGC Engineering 22 years ago. So I've grown in the field. When I first started, it was myself. I was the only female in a group of 9 other men. So it was very intimidating at the beginning, but I had a lot of support. The fellows who I worked with were very keen to, you know, help me learn and grow my skills, and, you know, just let me become better at my field. And it just allowed me to grow. And I also had one other mentor who was one of my engineering professors, a woman engineer who I really looked up to, and she answered a lot of questions and, you know, just let me, you know, watch her and be part of kind of a growing field of women in the field of engineering, and being a teacher and kind of in the front of everybody. So I really learned a lot from her, and she continues to be my friend and a mentor, which is, it's really important. And I think just in terms of my work, as I mentioned, there's a lot of new developments. But we do a lot of site work as well. Initially, all of our reports are for a municipal type of reviewing authority. So our noise reports are in support of developments as they're being planned and throughout the construction phase. So many times I will be able to go to the site, see how the project is developing, and then once it is completed, our company will certify that, you know, all the noise and vibration and acoustic aspects of that development have been addressed appropriately so that the interior sound levels are acceptable from, you know, railway, roadway, highway, aircraft and all of that. So I found it very rewarding, and it's a field that I've been able to grow in. And I strongly encourage a lot of the women who, or young girls who are, you know, watching, to have a look and see what type of work is out there.
Thank you so much, Sheeba. That was wonderful and really, really interesting work. Judy, we'll go over to you.
Hi, thanks Raly for having me on here. I work in construction. I'm a finishing super at Tridel. I've moved around quite a bit within the company just to see the different departments and get a full understanding of where I'm working and what I need to do. I finish units for a living, so I basically take it from a concrete shell to the finished unit, which becomes your home. So everything you see in there is something that I helped push in a direction to make sure that it happened. And I schedule all these trades, I coordinate all of them, and I work alongside all of them to make sure everything is happening for you, to have your home be what you want it to be and what you ask for. For me, I went to George Brown College for 2 years, and I kind of fell into this job, and I actually met who is currently a VP for one of our other departments for customer care, and she helped me along the way. She helped bring me in and found a role that would work, a new role that she created. She's actually a great mentor for me because she moved an entire department in a direction and created something out of nothing, which was pretty incredible. For me, it's great, this industry. I've learned so much from my trades, from the people I work with. I've had a lot of female mentors, which I've been really lucky for in both my departments that I worked in. And for me, when I go around the city and I look around, I get to see all the jobs that I've been a part of. And I've been a part of 20 years worth of jobs. And I've met hundreds and thousands of people of all different walks of life. And it's, for me, females in the industry are important. There's not a lot of us, and when I started, there was only a handful of us, and I got lucky to work alongside those women who showed me a lot of things along the way. And now I see women being introduced every year, which is a nice growing thing that I like to see. As women, we try to make that real for everyone. So I would say that it's exciting. If you can find your way in and niche yourself in, you'll want to do that.
Thank you, Judy. That was great. And last but certainly not least, Caroline, over to you. Oh, Caroline, I think you're on mute still.
Oh, sorry about that. Good morning, everyone. My name is Caroline, and I am a senior associate of urban design at Bousfields, Inc., which is a private consulting firm that specializes in planning, urban design, and community engagement. I'm going to speak a little bit as a timeline of my career, just to explain, because it's a little wobbly. It's, it doesn't go so straight up, it comes down. I started with my bachelor's of architecture at Carleton, and then I began working in the private sector for architectural firms. As I was working through the firms, I developed a love for designing cities and parts of cities, just because it had much more meaningful impact for me because of the socio-political and all of the other environmental factors that go into designing portions of the city. And it was not just so site-specific, but it was actually for people in the city to live and enjoy. Then I went to pursue my master's of urban design in Barcelona, where it was called Universitat Politécnica de Catalunya. And the reason I did go there was I wanted to explore a European city, which I felt was successful in building itself up, in particular the waterfront. And then also I wanted to try a different environment, which was not necessarily as costly as going to the States. And it was actually reasonable to go to Barcelona. After returning, I began to work again in another consulting firm, which was more of a planning and urban design firm. And then I had children. I had my first son. So I decided to take a break and try the public sector, where I went to work at the City of Toronto, the Urban Design Department, which was a great experience because I definitely recommend trying both the public and private sector. Because when you're in the public sector, you get to meet everyone, all the developers, you get to see all the different types of applications, all the different types of architects and what's out there. And it was a great experience. After that, I got the opportunity to work for Waterfront Toronto because at that time, Google was here and trying to build an innovative smart city called Sidewalk Labs. So I joined Waterfront Toronto and worked on that for a while. And then I left and then went to Bousfields, where I'm currently working on Regent Park revitalization and the completion of the last two phases, phases 4 and 5, which is truly fulfilling and meaningful. In terms of women in the industry, obviously in architecture, when I first started, there were a few women, but there were very few women in the senior roles. It was mostly men that I was dealing with. And, you know, I did have some mentors, but they were men because there was very few senior women to have mentors for. When I did go to the public sector, there was much more female mentors and more female seniors. And then as I moved into urban design, I think most of the urban designers are women, which is fantastic. And I'm able to work along with many women partners and senior roles that are able to mentor and guide me. So I think it's great. So thank you for having me here to speak.
Thank you so much. And I think already we're picking up some, great takeaways from everything that you've shared. The big one, I think, for me is sometimes young people feel like they should have it all figured out. You know, they should have that straight plan and it's all, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And I think it's great to hear that it's okay to test out new things because you don't know what it is that you might really fall in love with. So that's a really great takeaway. And not to mention the diversity, between the private sector and the public sector. And then there's a choice there and a lot of opportunities. So we had some great questions come in as part of the registration process. So I'll just jump right in and I'll sort of put you in the hot seat. But if anybody wants to add anything, please feel free to jump in. So the first one I think that's on everybody's mind is, we saw from the data, women are still very underrepresented in the construction industry, especially in the skilled trades, making up only 4%. So why do you think that is? Is safety a factor? Are there other issues that prevent women? And Kayla, why don't we go over and start with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when we're looking at numbers of women on the tools in the skilled trades, I think the reason why we're not seeing the number going up is, we saw it earlier in the presentation, a lot of young people aren't considering careers in the skilled trades. They're not being told about them. All throughout my high school career, I was never told about the skilled trades. It was very tunnel vision towards university. So I really think young girls and young boys, they really need to see people that look like them. They need to see that representation, and definitely mentorship is a big piece. I was lucky enough that when I was having, bad days, as you often will, if you pursue anything, there's going to be good and bad days. And, I was lucky when I had bad days, I could always call my mom, and she's very familiar with the construction industry. So she was able to kind of get me through it. But I know when I talk to other tradeswomen, like Sister Samara that we heard about from earlier, you might not have family in the trades. And if you do, if they're men, they might not understand, the exact things that you're going through. And I think that mentorship and support piece is so important. So I'm always happy to connect women with other tradeswomen mentors as a part of my role here with the OBCT. So I would say if you're considering a career in the skilled trades, yeah, definitely find a mentor. And you know what, sometimes that mentor is a man. Throughout my apprenticeship, at least learning my trade, I had a lot of men that were really kind to me and really taught me the trade and, didn't exclude me. And, my trade is less than 1% women. So I didn't really have very many options when I was learning my trade, but you know what? A lot of those fellas ended up being, you know, best friends and close friends. So I couldn't ask for anything more. Thank you.
Well, that's great, and definitely heard the mentorship from every one of our panel members today and how important that is, regardless if it's women or men, just having that support, that experience that somebody will back you and you can go to with any issues or for advice. So that's a really great. And I will give you a shout out here because, you know, the Ontario Building and Construction Tradeswomen does have a mentorship program. They're looking for both journey persons who identify as female and new female apprentices and match them up. So what a fantastic resource. And I think we're seeing more and more of those supports that will hopefully mean more women in the industry. Judy, I will go over to you because as you mentioned, you know, you do manage a lot of the skilled trades, so you see all across on site. What about from your perspective? Why aren't we seeing more women on site, and how can we encourage them?
I agree with Kayla. Most of what she said is accurate. It's a very male-dominated industry, and a lot of industries are like that. And we have to kind of break that mold of what's been going on. For me, I started very young. I started at 21. So when I joined the industry and I walked on the job site, it was, I got lucky because I ran into the first female on the job, and she was a clerk at like the very lowest level of the positions. And now she's my manager, and she worked her way up the ranks. So I don't think safety is a factor. I never found safety to be an issue for me when I came on site. It was more finding my space and finding a way not to be intimidated or discouraged by what was going on around me, which can happen. And it's not just with your family, with your work, and even with your friends. Sometimes you can get discouraged by some of the things they say. When I started in high school, the response was, "Oh, I'm small," just so if you're not aware, I'm 5'2". So I'm really tiny and small to be on a construction site. So it was hard enough to be that size and be that young and be culturally different than everybody around you. So when I walked on the industry, it was like, oh, this is a surprise. But I found that that you just don't let it discourage you. I have a strong personality, so it was easy for me to kind of fight any kind of stereotype that was going on around me. But I know for people, it's not that simple. But just, you shouldn't get discouraged, and you should find a way to represent yourself. We're representing right now for all of you, and for everybody that's coming. We're hoping that you'll join us and continue that pathway, right? Because it's not really promoted to us. I found when I talked to women in the industry, it was mainly that it wasn't promoted to them. They never heard about it, just like Kayla was saying. Nobody in high school ever mentioned it. And even when I went to my guidance counselor in high school and talked about it, they were like, that's not for you. And it was like, oh, actually it is, because 20 years later, I'm a finishing super for one of the biggest builders in this city, and I work alongside a lot of the women you're seeing on the panel today. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what both you and Kayla said about just knowing that that's an option. And if you don't have someone that's close to you that's in the industry, you know, how do you access that information? Which is why, you know, I'm so thrilled to see this huge participation today from so many schools and so many students. You know, we call it planting the seed. And again, it's not for everybody, but everybody should know that this is an option, and it's a rewarding option that they should try out for themselves. You did get into a little bit about, you know, being doubted on site about your size, you know, and having to prove yourself. So I'd love to get real here and talk about, you know, as a woman, what were some of the barriers that you faced in the industry, and how did you overcome them? And Caroline, I'll go over to you.
One of the major barriers, which I'm still trying to deal with myself, is I'm a very quiet person, right? So I was often, you know, left out of emails or asked questions, or just they were assumed that I didn't know much about what I was, you know, speaking about, or the industry or whatever it was. And that in itself is me, because some women tend to be very quiet and think that they shouldn't speak up, right? So I've been learning to just speak up. And when you speak with confidence, because you know what you're talking about. You don't have to prove it to anyone. So it's really to find your voice, almost advocate, and you have to sell yourself more than men do. And it's just something that you have to do. And it's also to encourage the women around you and support them, right? Not to be in competition with them, but to raise each other up and support each other, whoever you're working with, and to really just speak up, right? And find your voice. I think that's one of the major barriers that I've gone through. Other barriers is obviously, you know, rude comments made to you when, you know, because you're female, gestures. A lot of times I would just ignore it. But when it crossed the line, I would report it, right? And because you had to. So that's my experience.
Yeah, thank you. These are very, very good points. Sheeba, anything to add here in terms of barriers and how you overcome them? I know you
Definitely.
mentioned you were the first female in your firm.
I was, yes. And now over the years, we have about a third of us are women. And I agree with Caroline that we have to support each other and raise each other up. And we do have to speak up for ourselves because you know, you want to be good at what you do. You want to make sure that you learn and, you know, you feel confident in your ability to do the work. So you do have to take on your side of the bargain, right? You have a role, you have a job, but you've got to be good at that job. So ask questions. Don't feel bad that someone says, you know, maybe you didn't do this properly or you didn't do this correctly, but learn how to do it accurately and learn from your mistakes and keep asking questions, keep learning, and get out there and do get as much experience as you can on different projects. And, you know, just be confident in yourself that you do have the ability, you do have what it takes to be at the table with the other people who often are men. And just, you know, you're the expert and just go ahead and be confident in yourself. And as Caroline mentioned too, that often early on when I went into meetings for startup of projects, I was the only woman. And there was always a like kind of a shocked look like, oh, you know, first I'm a woman and then I'm a brown woman, right? Like, so it's like a double whammy in that sense. But again, you just speak for your role, your, you know, your expertise and stick to that. And if someone does say something to you in a negative manner, you can choose how you react, you know, whether it's something not worth fighting for at that moment. But if it's something intimidating, definitely report it and feel that you've done nothing wrong. You know, you are there for a reason. People hired you because they know you can do the work. And, you know, in that sense, just live up to that expectation, but do your part by learning and making sure you're good at your role.
What great advice. And I heard, and it sort of started with Judy, just about having that confidence, you know, don't let anyone sort of hold you down, you know, be confident, know what you're about and what you know and what you can contribute. And I think a good point that you've all made as well is to know your rights, know when something is crossing the line. And going back to that mentorship piece, I think that's where a mentor could really be a great sounding board as well to sort of do a gut check and say, was that over the line? And what can I do about it? Kayla, I see you're nodding a lot. I'm not sure if you wanted to add anything on here from the tradeswomen perspective as well, in terms of barriers and how you can overcome them.
No, you know what? I think Caroline and Sheeba hit it right on the head. Yeah, just advocate for yourself and be confident for sure.
Yeah, that confidence. I think as for women, it is always challenging. I think there's always this, especially as you're starting out, there's this, you know, loud self-doubt. And what I'm hearing from all of you is you just got to suppress that down and carry on. Well, this last question is one for each of you. So we'd love to hear, you know, what advice do you have for girls and women who want to learn more, that want to get started, that want to be successful in the industry? And, you know, feel free to be as as generic and feel good as you can, but also as specific as possible if there's any particular summer opportunities, programs, or anything like that that you would suggest to them. So Kayla, I have you here on my screen, so why don't we start over with you?
All right, absolutely. So yeah, if there's there's young girls that are watching this and are interested in getting involved in the trades, I want to mirror something that was said earlier. Get started as soon as possible, because if you wait until you're a little bit older, you're going to regret it, right? I hear that all the time. Tradeswomen say, "Oh, I wish I'd have gone in sooner." So push. The doors might not be open to you initially when you're trying to get in, but they're not locked. You just got to kick them down, and you got to force your way in there. And if you're confident, you know what, you're going to change a lot of attitudes and beliefs. And I can tell you, there's no better feeling than walking onto a job and having somebody either imply that you can't do your job or downright say that you can't. And not only do you but you change their minds. And, I've had a lot of people, I've walked onto the jobs and they said stuff like that to me. And then by the end of the job, we're best friends. And I'll tell you, there's no better feeling than that, because, you're helping them grow. And, ultimately it's it's one person at a time, but you're making the industry better and more inclusive for women and others. So really just, break down those doors, get involved. And it's a great career, and the camaraderie and the family that you have on site, it's it's better than anything else in the world. So, if you're looking for that, it's a huge benefit. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kayla. I love that. Break down those doors, because when you think about it and when you look back in history, women had to enter a number of different industries. It's not just construction. We've kicked down many doors and creaked open windows. So we gotta push that and not let that be an intimidation. It should be a challenge, we face head on. And the other part I heard from you say is kind of show your work, let your work speak for you. Don't let those comments bother you, but just prove yourself as you go in. Judy, we'll go over to you about any advice for anyone who wants to learn more, get started.
Kayla makes it very hard to come up with anything. She's hit a lot of points that I've was thinking to talk about, but she's definitely right about it all. And I would highly, I think Sheeba touched on it earlier, we're not in competition, or Caroline, we're not in competition with each other as women. And you need to make sure you understand that. It's important that you know that we're here to work as a team. We're all on the same team. And the more you can support each other, ask questions, and you do have to work hard. It is important. And sometimes you're gonna have to work twice as hard as everybody around you. But you, like Raly said and like Kayla said, let your work speak for itself. Carry yourself as you want people to see you, and know that there's nothing you can't do. You really can't. I made it all the way to here, and I started from nowhere. And I got to here with all the help. And men helped me as well along the way. I had men mentors, I also had female mentors. And representation is changing. And like I said, we carved a space for ourselves. And that's why we say confidence, right? We're not saying that you can't feel bad, you can't have bad days, anything like that, of course. But you need to carve a space for yourself, and you need to know and be confident when you walk in a door, because you're allowed to be there and you should be there right along everybody else, right?
Absolutely. Thank you, Judy. And I think that is a really good point as well. One, about the confidence, but second, about it's okay to ask for help. Nobody is expecting that you will know 100% of everything, about your career or your job, right, as you're coming in. So it's good to, be hungry to learn and advance for that. So that's great. Sheeba, we'll go over to you.
Sure. I think when I was listening to everyone, I think something that might be helpful for, young people is, if you're coming into high school, maybe, for a grade 9, take your kid to work day. It doesn't necessarily have to be your own parents. My own son went to someone else's take your kid to work day, and he just got a different experience. So, ask people, ask your family members, ask friends of your parents, what do they do? You know, what is their occupation? And if you find something interesting that's in the construction field, whether it be engineering or, you know, being a construction super or, you know, all these different fields, ask them, can I come for a day? Just see what you do, even for half a day, just ask some questions, but really be informed. There's a program with Professional Engineers Ontario for young people to do like bridge building competitions or, you know, like math competitions. There's all sorts of things that are free. You just have to sign up or get your parent to help you sign up. And you can even just participate, but maybe you don't even have to, you know, pay any money, and you don't even have to be, you know, actually building something, but you could be there and see people, how are they doing things, and meet different people. And you do have to ask questions. You do have to, you know, get out there and advocate for yourself a little bit. There are some programs, co-op, which are part of high school programs, and you don't necessarily have to go with the set jobs that are already available. You could potentially find yourself something, you know, if you have a friend or, you know, and even some of us on the panel, we could certainly, you could reach out to us and see what, you know, what kind of questions you have. And, you know, just as participating panelists who want to promote young women and girls into, you know, these kind of non-traditional fields. I think, you know, I'd certainly be happy to answer a few questions. And if people would like to reach out, I think that's okay with me. But just, you know, get out there and ask questions.
Thank you, Sheeba. That is such good advice. I love that. And I'll speak on behalf of all of the adults on the panel in your classrooms. Now is your time to try things out, because the worst consequences is you didn't like it. You know, it's not, you know, you have a family to support or, you know, rent or bills to pay. Like, now is your moment to really, you know, take a chance. Yeah, you said it yourself, enter a competition, try things out, take a course, you know, shadow someone you want to find more information on. And I think really this is a really safe space, and I think students should know that yeah, now is the time to just go out and try out those new things. And we'll finish strong with Caroline. Over to you.
Well, Sheeba covered it so well. Right? She covered everything. Yeah, I completely agree with Sheeba. Like, explore, find out if this is what you're interested in, because you really have nothing to lose. So what, you don't like it? Try something else. Your career your career path doesn't have, it won't necessarily be a straight arrow, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to find what you love. In fact, I think when you do take different paths and try different things, you do end up finding something that you do love and that you're passionate about. And when you're passionate about something, you're most likely very good at it, right? So my advice is, again, try the summer, you know, programs, different camps. They offer architecture camps. U of T offers it. Ryerson offers it. Explore things. There's online things, little, you know, Zoom webinars and things that you can join just to see if that's something you like. In terms of urban design, my advice is go walk through the city. Go enjoy it. See what you like and what you don't like about the city. Start to look up. You know, not just straight ahead, right? Or on your phone. Go and enjoy cities. Go visit other cities, right? Go, you know, travel as much as you can, whether it's within Ontario or outside. The biggest education for me, and what really inspired me to love architecture and urban design, was traveling and seeing different cities. And I think that's my advice, is just to go travel, try things out, and it's okay if you don't like it, because there's other things that I'm sure you'll find that you love.
You know what, that's such amazing. And I did pick up 2 new pieces of advice here. So even within Ontario, you know, there's small towns that have such different architecture than what we see in the urban city, very differently, you know, structured and designed communities. So very good point. But I will pick up on the one that I really love, which is finding something you love, because money is important, and we all, I think, are realists here, and I think we covered that the construction industry is well compensated, but you will do well if you find something that you love, because if you love it, it's more likely that you're going to be good at it, and it's going to, really motivate you to get up in the morning and go and conquer the world, from your little space there. So we have a couple of additional slides that we wanted to share with students here, but I just want to thank the panel so much for your time today. I know you're all took time out of your busy days to join us, and this was a really important conversation, and I think I'll presume to speak on behalf of students and teachers to say, thank you. This was really, really great to get to hear from all of your perspectives. And hopefully next year we bring you over in person and we can meet all the students directly. Thank you all. So what's next? In our final minutes here, we really wanted to leave you with a couple of takeaway points and a couple of additional resources for those of you that are interested and want to learn more. So let's talk a little bit about the myths, because I'm hoping that within this short hour, we got 3 big myths busted. The first being that industry is not suitable for women. As you heard from our amazing panel, there are more and more women entering the industry and advancing to senior positions. And the only way that we're going to make that difference is to have even more women enter the industry. The second is that the work and culture is not safe for women. And as you heard from the opening video and then from some of the discussion, the safety standards on site are higher than they've ever been. And increasingly more and more employers are adopting and, most importantly, enforcing additional diversity, equity, and inclusion policies so that if there is an incident on site, you can know your rights and report accordingly. And the last, we didn't really talk about, but we've heard from before that many women think that the work is too physically demanding for them. And while that's the case for some professions, there are a ton of other roles that involve no or very low heavy lifting. Most of our panel on today, but other careers like heavy machine operators or crane operators, where you're literally sitting in a chair and maneuvering this big machine all around, tile and floor installers, painters, supervisors, and many others. And when you're thinking about these careers, there's really 2 buckets that we want to leave you here with. There are the skilled trades and apprenticeships, which is much more, hands-on, and you can get started with a training provider, directly with an employer, or even with a college program. And there are all of the other industry professions, the Caroline, the Sheeba, the safety at the beginning that Judy represent. And those are either through hands-on experience or relevant college or university program. And lastly here, very tangible, if you are currently a high school student that is interested in the skilled trades, there's a great program from the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program and another one for TDSB students only called Step to Construction. Please talk to your guidance counselor or co-op teacher about that. It gets you out of the classroom and on site, where you really get to see what those careers are all about. And if you are a high school student interested in college or university, then, and I cannot stress this enough, take a look at school open houses. There's a lot of virtual options now where you can go and visit them on site. No shortage of those in the city. And definitely look at scholarships. We have our own scholarship program, which we accept applications for right now until the end of April, if you're interested in pursuing a construction-related career. And if you just want to learn more, we've piqued your interest and you're like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but how can I find out even more information about what's available? On our YouTube channel, where the recording of the session will be, there are 5 great and short videos that talk about the different careers as part of the building process, and you get to see exactly what they're responsible for. And the 2 snippets that we opened up the session with were from the site management video there, but you can look at any of the other ones. It's at the very least fun general trivia for you to pick up on. And another really great video resource is, again, on YouTube. It's called Job Talks, where you get to actually meet real industry professionals, and they sort of talk on camera about what it is that they do, how they got started, and what they enjoy about their specific roles. But lastly, we'll just leave you with 3 big things, and I think our panel really hammered the point in here. There is such a huge diversity of roles in the industry, so please do your research. You heard there's summer programs, camp programs, competitions, co-op options, career days, really anything to get you to try it out. Ask a ton of questions. Do not be shy about that, and really just take a chance and see what it is that you enjoy doing, and who knows, you might be one of the lucky few that really discovers something they truly love and want to pursue at a very, very early age. So with that, we want to thank you. We have a couple of additional Mentimeter options for you to just let us know what you thought about the session. And, if we've picked your interest. So if you were to sign on to your phone or your laptop, again, at www.menti.com, and use that code 33171931. And I see the answers are coming in right now. So we'll do just a quick